Hello, everyone. Welcome to Achieving Success with Olivia Akin. I'm your host, Olivia Akin. Each week, we will discuss the roadmap of achieving your personal and professional success. We will give you real-life stories on growing personally and professionally to achieve your life and career goals with the help of some top-notch guests. Today, we are speaking with Steven Stotts. Steven is the CEO and founder of Steven the Legacy LLC. Steven is an inventor, author, and limiting belief specialist. Steve is the inventor of many games, including the latest being Cubix, the dexterity game that improves focus and hand-eye coordination for anyone 5 years or older. You can find Steven by searching Steven Stotts on LinkedIn or by going to his website, stevethelegacy.com. Hello, Steve. It's fantastic having you on the show today.
How you doing? Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
I'm so excited to dive in and talk about your life journey and the journey that is Cubix that's taken over the world right now. But to start off the show, can you tell me what success means and looks like to Steve the Legacy?
I think success means to me becoming your ideal self, right? Your purpose, right? Not what somebody told you what you want to do. Is what you decide that was already God-given gifts that you have within you to bring to the world. It's all about what you give to the world, more so than what you take out of it. But I think success all boils down to just you being your genuine self.
And I love that. And I love talking about your genuine self and figuring out not only what the world can give to you, but what you can give back to the world. And that kind of leads me into my first question. And that's around your name, The Legacy. So people call you and know you by Steve the Legacy. When did you start being called The Legacy? And what impact has that been for you on kind of how you operate and how you think about yourself and how you try to impact the world?
Well, to be transparent, the name, the legacy came in a dream back in 2013. At the time, I'm a junior, so normally you have people call themselves junior and stuff like that. I wanted something a little different. I'm the legacy of my father. My father passed away when I was 17, freshman year in college, and what I wanted to do was pay a little homage to him, also bringing that legacy not only for the current, present, but also for the future. This was during I guess my daughter was 2 at the time. So just wanted to make sure I be that example. Then it was that point that I said, you know what, this would be a great name to use to market it for speaking engagements and things going in the forefront. And this is the vision I had before I got anything rolling, got everything started. Didn't even work on my mind yet, but I had the name. Sometimes it starts off with the name, and that's where Steve the Legacy came from.
And I think that's so important that sometimes it can start off with something as simple as a name. You might not know where you're going. You might not know the impact you're making, but that name and where it stems from and why it stems where it does can be just as important to what you're building. And I want to dive into more about when you talked about the fact that you didn't know where you were going at that time and how you wanted to pay homage to, your father because you were a junior, but then also for generations to come. So for you, what has that been like in trying to make a legacy? And what does the word legacy really mean in impacting others like your daughter and for future generations?
I mean, that's a great question. I think, see, in the very beginning, I had hoop dreams. Most boys either have football dreams, basketball, baseball, you name it, right? We all have that sports mindset background. Sometimes, our parents want to push us through their dreams and allow to make it our dreams. And I think that's what the love of basketball came about me, because my dad loved the game, taught me the game. I fell in love with the game, but when I stopped playing, it was almost like, okay, what am I going to do, right? What is going to be my main purpose? Entrepreneurship has been around me for years, since I was 12. I used to work with my grandma at the flea market. Every Saturday, we used to sell. They had like a nice little flea market where you get to sell different odds and ends and things like that. So at that time, I just felt like, this is what I would want to do, but I don't know how I was going to do it. What's going to be the first step? But that was something in the back of my mind. But then, funny, life hits you in different ways, right? So, I told you my father died when I was a freshman year in college. And the thing is, it's like you trying to have this major. I think I changed my major twice while I was in school, right? At one point, I wanted to be a fashion designer. Yeah, fashion designer, right? And then I said, let's get back to business, so business administration. So that's what I ended up getting my degree in. But it was still like, I don't want to work for anybody, but I have to learn the ropes. So first thing out of college was selling cars. I had a background of selling. And then that was the wrong year to start selling cars because that was a recession, '08, right? So um, the great legend, Al Atkinson, 69 Jets championship, he sells cars. And he was selling with me at the time. He said, Steve, I got an NFL pension, so I'm going to be good. But I advise you at this point in time, I don't know what's going to happen with this market, get into a safe management position. And that's when I started working for Rite Aid as a manager. And did that for about 6, 7 years until we departed and had to revitalize myself in the defeat and refocusing in my mind exactly what I wanted. And the amazing part, and this is what a lot of things with people in life, sometimes when you have a dramatic thing in life, when that happens, it can kind of reactivate some things that you thought was dormant or was dormant when you was probably a teenager or a child, gets resurrected in your adult form. And that's what happened.
And I want to dive into more about what you said about kind of all those moving pieces and all those different experiences you had were honing skills that as an entrepreneur you need, and you've come to realize how important those skills are, whether it's sales, whether it's interacting with people, all those things you had experience with throughout your different roles. Looking back as someone who was knew they wanted to be an entrepreneur from a young age, like you said earlier, 12 years old is when you kind of start getting that entrepreneur bug, but you didn't know where it might lead. How have you looked at all those different roles and skill sets over the years now that you have that entrepreneurial set in that direction? How have you looked at that journey?
It's a full circle. When you really think about it, as you talking and I'm mapping in my head, I'm a visual person. I watch everything I talk, I watch everything I see. I see things twice. My daughter got the same gift. I see things first time in my imagination, second time I see it in reality, but reality's too slow, so I wait for it to catch up. But anyway, back to what you're saying, full circle, right? If you notice that it took for me to go all around the barn to come back to my ideal self of what I wanted to do at the age 12, 13. That was like when you still, that's before you got tainted by the world. That's before the nose started coming. That's before when you find out the truth that everybody's not going to make it to the level they think they're going to make it, right? That's the level where I guess um, around 12, 13 is the time frame where sometimes the wishes actually goes into nightmares, right? But you still have that thought process saying that, you know what? I want to do it. I can do it. Nobody tell me no. Let me go forth and do it. Somewhere when we become an adult, I guess we get discouraged as a kid. We don't have that same type of That's why I like, well, he's not alive anymore, but he's like my play mentor, Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn always says, plan like an adult and believe in it like a child, right? So I think anything in life that we want to do, just plan like an adult, but start believing into what we want to do again like a child. When you think about a child, they don't understand the word no. They just know what they want, right? So now you look at these big seminars that's packed with a lot of people that's 30 plus still trying to find themselves again, right? Yeah, they just came back from dramatic experiences and then a full circle right back to what their normal standpoint. So the thing is this, it's like believe, like plan for it like an adult, and whatever you want to do, believe in it like a child and watch things happen.
I love that. And I love that key fact that we should all take away is that you should really look at things and plan, like you were saying, with the mentality of, okay, an adult, long run, put processes in place, things like that, but never give up on your dreams. When you're a child, like you were saying, you've really never see the word or hear the word no in your own vocabulary. It's why not? Why can't I do this? If you think back to the, 5, 7 year old kid, even younger, they're questioning everything. Parents are like, okay, can you stop asking me why? Just do it. I'm telling you to do it. But really, as an adult, that mindset should stay of just continuously asking why not. And I think, like you said, that gets away from a lot of people of there's all these reasons why not to do something, but why can't you still go ahead and do it just because others aren't doing it? For you, that thinking like a child, believing like a child, I should say, believing like a child mindset, how has that helped you, especially as you're inventing new products and kind of navigating that part?
The thing about it, I look at T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes said it best. He said, "You will never respect yourself until you have the taste of finishing." Never knew what that meant. I teacher back in 10th grade, Miss Starkweather, remember Miss Starkweather? She used to call me half pint, right? Because I halfway did the work, right? And I wanted full credit for everything I did. And I got tired of that name. The only way I was able to get that name erased from my memory was to become a full quart, a full gallon. I hate when she called me half pint. So when I got completed the first thing that I wanted to do, and that's getting my patent for one of my inventions back in 2021, I said to myself, man, if I could do this, what else can I do? Right? And see, we didn't talk about can I afford it? See, I think a lot of times we tap out when we're like, I don't have the money to do it. No, 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 no. What else can I do? What do you want to do? Oh, I want to create a game, card game. Now, once again, you have to have the right type of people around you. You have to have the right mindset to be developed because the thing about it, the wrong person can really do that damage. So you do not want to tell your big dreams to a small-minded person because they cannot fathom. I learned my I learned it the hard way. In a way, when I was selling cars, I had this crazy idea. Japan is always 10 years in advance when it comes to technology. I don't care what nobody says, right? So they always got things coming around the corner before we gravitate and catch on, all right? So at the time, it was the cell phone watches in the very, I guess, the very beginning stages, right? And I had a little tip from Japan. He gave me a couple samples, and I was so excited. So I shared it with the finance manager at the car dealership. I said, "Man, this is going to be the next big thing. The cell phone watch has got the stylus, and everything." He's like, "That is the dumbest idea. Who is going to talk on their wrist? That is the dumbest idea." I sold two. I gave up on the idea and I quit. Fast forward years later, commercial came on from Samsung, right? And the rest is history, right? So my thing is, I always get that reminder, like, be careful who you share. Now, what I do is I just come out. Worst thing that can happen is you learn from it, right? I didn't say the worst thing can happen, you fail from. No, the worst thing that can happen, and that could be the best thing, you learn from the process. And it's been a great journey since.
And I think that's so important to understand is that you learn from every process and it's not a mistake. And one of the other things I want to touch upon before we get into your game and those inventions is the fact you have brought up that money tends to stop a lot of individuals. The when numbers in general and specifically dollar amounts tend to come into the conversation, we kind of throw everything out the window. Everything's fair game, whether it's anxiety of, oh, wow, that's a big number, whether it's worth the investment or not, or, okay, that might be a big number now, but in the long run, that's not a big number for what your return can be. How do you kind of navigate or your recommendation for individuals who are looking at that money and going, okay, should I stop or should I continue?
See, one of the skill sets, and this is another thing when you're working for someone, right? I understand everybody, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs, but while you're working for somebody, you learn the skill sets to help you. It's funny, the owner of this one small business I was working for at the time, he said, all that you learn here, use it in your personal life. Sometimes you don't think about it, right? You're like, I'm gonna add that to my personal life. But one of my biggest, I guess, skill set that I have is I know how to break things down to manageable pieces. Most people, when they see a big project, it's so monumental that they get so discouraged because it's so big. But just like they always say, how to eat an elephant, one piece at a time, just take one little piece at a time, right? So I think it's all about breaking things down to manageable pieces. And be like what Jim Rohn always say. You're going to hear a lot of quotes from me from Jimmy because Jimmy's embedded in my head. Jim always says, when's the perfect time to start? When the idea is hot and emotion is strong. Most people get fizzled out in a way where it's to the point where now the idea is hot no more and it's cooling off. And then that's when you're looking to the left, looking to the right, not walking on water anymore. Now you're scared that you're sinking because the fact is you did not really see yourself in advance of where you want to become. So my charge to you, charge to everybody out there You want to break things down into manageable pieces and see yourself. And you hear this a whole lot of time when people talk about manifestation. See yourself in the present tense of it already happening before it happened. When you do that, it's not the sky's the limit. We're talking about stratosphere and the universe now. Stop stopping at the sky. It's
I
more
love
galaxies out there.
I love that, and I think that's so impactful, and I wanna reiterate that, is think about yourself achieving that goal in the present and that you've already done it, because that really does also it does something in addition. It changes your mindset. It changes how you look at if it's accomplishable, how much time, the energy, all those small maybe hoops or after a really long day when you're thinking about, can I really do this again tomorrow? Is today the last day or should I continue on? When you put it in the mindset of, okay, I've accomplished it, this is the feeling I get, this is the joy that's happening because of it, and all those things can really change your perspective on it as well. Steve, I want to go into now your inventions and the process you've taken as an inventor to get to where you are. Now, you've created a lot of different things and one of them being Cubix, your current big game that is, as I say, taking the world by storm. Before we dive into Cubix, I do want to dive into your inventor background and how you kind of have navigated that, because as an inventor, you and I have spoken previously, you've really done many different things and explored many different opportunities and adventures. So for you, how do you decide kind of what to invent and what to dive more into, like Cubix?
It all starts from a problem, right? So, I always said to people that most people are rich because they became the answer to most people's problems, right? So start off with a problem. Now, my inventing background, this once again, I tell you, sometimes in life you gotta go full circle, right? You go from the adulthood all the way back to the child. When I was 12, also outside of me working with my grandma, I had this itch of inventing. It came from this TV show, Family Matters, back in the day with Steve Urkel, right? Steve Urkel inspired me um, to invent. And at the time, the school, elementary school, now the sad thing to this day, that hopefully I'll be able to bring that back in the next couple of years. I went to school to my elementary school. I've been back there in like 20 years, and it was a great feeling to come back and give back to kids. But that school had science fairs and invention fairs, right? And I won best of school twice in a row, medals, everything like that. But they never had the resources of how to get it patent, how to get to the next level, right? So I was always to the point where I got excited. You get on the news, you get the medal, get the certificate, a round of applause, and all right, let's move on. And that was the discouragement that I had, even in an adult. I get the drawing together, the prototype together. Then I'll reach out to a company. I'm not gonna say the name. They'll come back with some stuff, and now you're like, where to go from there? Once again, the skill set that I've learned from the small business that I worked at, how to break things down to manageable pieces. Well, I said it could be done. Now, you type in right now into Google, don't get me wrong, about how to get a patent. They're going to say you need about 10 to 15,000. Right there alone, that will scare a lot of people off, right? But my thing was, well, how much is just the fees? Just tell me the fees that Alexandra is charging people at the patent office, right? Tell me that. Okay, all right, let's break that down. So that's the fees. Okay, cool. Tell me how much it costs to get this. All right, now it makes perfect sense. Now, don't get me wrong. The 15, the 20,000 comes with the person's skill set and time of experience that they're adding to that price tag. But if you develop this experience, you don't have to worry about that price tag. You just got to know what you want. That's the first thing I always say. I'm gonna give you the 7 steps to reach any goal and every goal during the process of this presentation. But right now, I had to write down what I wanted, not what I don't have, not what I can't get. What do you want? Most people, they know what they don't want, and they write a list, probably half a book on what they don't. But when's the last time a person's like, this is what I want, not wish? What do you want? Now, the how-tos, they come later, right? You just got to know what you want. So it started off with me trying to solve a problem. I was in a mascot costume. I love mascots. I love puppetry. I do that as a hobby. And I'm burning up in this suit, and they have affordable standalone on the side of the actual auditorium. People was walking by, and I said, man, it'd be cool if they have a mobile version of that can be carried along, carried around, taking pictures, interacting, and allowing people to still enjoy themselves without having to stand in that line. my mind started turning. And that's what the wandering, which was my first invention that got patented, that was born. And now, like for example, I do a lot of events, weddings. Um, the whole goal is to get into like the big stadiums. Imagine walking in there. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you come to a stadium, you have a big old car there, they want you to fill out this little paper form, and then you're trying to get to your seats, you're trying to get to the concession. I don't want to fill it out. But here's a new concept. Take the picture with the little wandering, right? That picture, you want that picture because you just took that picture. You want the experience of it. But when I send it to you, I'm sending you not only other people as far as advertisements, but I'm sending a way of communicating on both ends. It's called a data mining machine, not just a photo booth. It's a data mining because now people are not apprehensive of taking a photo. We're apprehensive of filling stuff out. We got no time. But taking a photo, everybody loves to see themselves. So that's the thing I got in the works with that. So when you see that being finished, I felt good. And here's the secret. The patent came in the mail, but I had the same feeling when I sent out the application before I got approved. And here's the thing that most people don't understand. That same event, that same emotion, the same chemicals of dopamine that was fulfilled in me as me already having that actual patent, I had when I submitted the first application. And the crazy part, I was thinking I was going to get a different type of feeling once it came in the mail. And I was like, that's kind of weird. I don't, because I already thought that I was going to get it. So the body just started giving me all the dopamine. Here's the biggest secret. The mind can't tell the difference between reality and what we believe. So if we know that as a fact, what do you want to happen? Things that you can have in your mind, you can hold in your hand, literally. So went from that to board games, to card games, and now Cubix.
which I love and I want to dive into because Cubix, as I say, is taking the area and the world by storm, and it really is going to continue. And I strongly believe that, and I think there's so many aspects to it that make it so amazing. The fun kind of competitiveness that you can have with it in any game, and honestly, as someone who we've talked about Cubix and I've seen it so many times, I'm looking at it like me and my friends could do this and we can get real competitive. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in this smack talk that can be happening with
Yeah.
Cubix. And then you have it in addition, and I've seen stuff you've posted in the aspect of helping younger children as well as older adults with memory, with hand-eye coordination, with all the different aspects. So there's that ability to kind of hone some of your skills that as an adult who might be getting older, you can, and you're more likely to maybe lose to keep by practicing. And that younger person who is trying to build those skills be able to have in an easy, accessible way that's, you're not carrying around a big board game. You're not, it's something easy. You can throw in your crossbody bag, as I say. And
Come in these little satchels, right?
yeah.
Right.
And so for you, why is Cubix so important, and kind of what are the things you're doing with it right now?
I would tell you something. Well, I told you a little brief about how the first invention started, right? And that was a long process, right? About 2.5, 3 years in the midst of everything coming together. Cubix is only 3 months old. And the traction that it has but this is what happens. When you get that taste of finishing, now it's like, remember, time and space doesn't exist when you're having fun, right? So it's like, okay, cool. What I'm going to do with this? First, to start off with a problem. Here was the problem. My mom was teaching my daughter how to play jacks. Jacks is an old pickup, bounce the ball type of game, right? And my thing is, I don't see things for what it is. I always see things for what it can be. So I said, well, how can we? They haven't modernized the game of jacks in almost 200 plus years. So how can we change this oldie to a nice little goodie, to a nice new version that we can get onto the STEM category, where it can have the sensory behind it, where it can be educational and fun, and limitless when it comes to age. So people, oh, that's a kiddie. No, because that's why in my videos I show a lady in her 80s that was playing, and I had a kid that was like, I think, third grade, second grade, and then my daughter, she's 12. So and what I like about it is that you don't have to be so drawn out by the instructions that you get so turned off. What I do, I pop up on my table anywhere and I just start playing against myself. It's a conversational starter. People walk up, what is that? Is that a magic trick? And then from there, it's like, oh my gosh, oh. And then that's why I built this little display so I carry it with me. So when they're ready to go here and watch me play, want to buy it, I got my little square little chip in my wallet. And I said, let's get going. And then when I said, how can we make this big? How can we make it giant? How can we do some things that have never been done before? This stuff is scary. I'm gonna tell you, it's scary in a good way. But the thing is, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. They got to scare you in order to conquer that thing. But oh my God! But you really want to see what's going to happen. I want to see what's going to happen. So the crazy idea was like, how about let's create a tournament? Now, I'm like, that was a crazy dream. I'm like, a tournament. Now, how I'm going to do that? Now, how I'm going to create this tournament? Where I'm going to have it at? The first thing I had was a date, and I'm going to be honest with it. Let's be transparent for a second, right? I didn't have a place. I had a date. See, on the 7 steps to the goal setting, I'm gonna give you a little hint. Step 7 is always got to mark that date. If you don't have a date, then there's nothing more than a wish. So the date was Saturday, July 29th, 2003. I never said location. I kept saying the date. Now, relationships is big. Never know who you're going to build a relationship with, right? So I've been building a relationship with this Barnes and Noble. I said, man, they got all this unused space in the back. A little wacky idea. And that's how I started. I said, I got a little wacky idea. Just follow me for a second. Because sometimes people can't see a vision. They got to see it demonstrated, right? Everybody don't have that gift that you have, so you got to understand that. You got to be patient with them, right? So first I had to show them how the game is played. Because from the looks, they're like, oh, it's cute, little colors, but they don't know how to play it. So I brought the table with me, and I started playing against myself. And I said, just imagine this as a tournament. Can we have it here? That was it. Let me talk to such and such. I get back to you. Cool. I still got time. Remember, this is early May. July 29th is my date, right? Okay, cool. A couple days later, yes, we would love to have it here. Now it went from the logo to the date, and now it's hosted by Barnes and Noble. Now I said, let's add sponsorships to it. Crazy thing. You gotta be crazy, right? Don't have the thought, because the thought didn't come like, I already sponsored this event. It's the first of its kind. You already sold the belief. You already sold the location. Now they got to understand the value. I'm going to say that again. I sold the belief in it. I sold the location. But before the location, I sold the date. Got to have a date. But I sold the location. And now, since the location has been sold, now let's go ahead and get the sponsorship. To the point where now it's not I'm chasing down with an email. It's all about, would you want to be a part of this history? Now the conversation changed. And by the blessing and the grace of God, 7 sponsorships in the last 3 days, right? And my thing is just believe in what you want to do and watch it come to life, no matter what it is. So that's my little backstory. Thank you.
And I love that. And I think it's so important, like you said, to believe in yourself and what it could be, and how you started with the let's do it. Let's have that thing. And like you said, it's so important to have a date. When you have, it just as let's do it, or I would love to do this. Sometimes it's easier to back away from it as things start to get hard if you don't have that cement in place of like, no, well, it's either take it or leave it. This is the date it has to happen. And when you have that date, whether it's a tournament that you want to run, a certification exam you want to take, the pressure gets added. It's like, okay, now there's skin in the game, right? A lot of some business owners, salespeople say, depending on who you're working with, if we're doing this and we're going to collaborate, you need skin in the game. You need to invest as well. And that date is that skin in the game. That date is, okay, well, we're a month out. You can't start slacking off now because I can't move it to 2 months from now. It's in the planner. It's posted. You've already told people the date. So now you have to follow through, and it makes you want to follow through. It's like, okay, it has to happen. What do I have to do to make it happen? And I love that. And like you said, Barnes and Nobles and getting it in Barnes and Nobles is a great thing, and that partnership. And it's all about building those connections and building those partnerships. But what I also loved about that story is the building of a community. We really talk about, you know, building not just for yourself, but around you. And for you, you live in Philadelphia. We're right next to each other, New Jersey and Philadelphia, and I go into Philly all the time. And like any city, when you're in Philadelphia, you can run into people from all walks of life. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And you can have the ability to communicate with people with different backgrounds and talk to people. But when you experience something like Cubix and you're just walking on the street and someone's playing a game, you want to go up and you want to explore and you want to figure it out and you want to be a part of it. And I love how you talked about, you'll set up your table anywhere and you'll just do it. For you, what has it been like building that community around Cubix and really just getting people involved with the game?
I think it brought us back to normalcy. Remember, the pandemic kept everybody away. We didn't want to be close to anybody. They told us not to be close to anybody. 6 feet apart, everybody, right? 6 feet apart. And like I said, I have a card game 201, which I love that game too as well. But the Cubix, it speaks more of connecting. Like it's a warmer feeling. I'm not saying the card game is not. It's just for some reason it's so harmless. It's so, and the way how I do it, like I do the way how I do the Cubix flow with my game is almost like a magic trick. So I do all this gesture, make it look good, and I know I'm struck. So it's like that wow factor. Like I have different tricks that I've learned as a practice that makes it look real good from afar that draws that attention. And the great thing what I love about it is that, remember, it was inspired by Jax. And I tell people that, man, because you understand everything around you, no matter what innovation has been perfected by something that was similar or something that needed a little tweak. I don't take nothing away from Jax. It was a great game for thousands of years. How can we make it better? See, that's the biggest challenge about in today's time, the innovation. The biggest nation in the whole universe, everybody has access to, but not too many people go to visit, and that's the imagination. How can I make it better? How can I make Jax better? Well, I want to turn it into a STEM product. The last game that I remember they had in school that was approved, because most stuff, remember, no, most toys and stuff get banned from schools, especially anything that's fun, right? They just ban it, right? There's no, so the last game that they did have that I guess got approved was 24 that I remember in school. Everybody in the urban school districts was playing that game 24. Haven't been a game like that it was to the point where they was going to champion. And that's where I can't wait till I get the accreditation 5 from STEM.org. That's where I'm trying to bring Cubix in, because not only is focused attention as putting out there, not only hand-eye coordination, but critical thinking skills. Because every color has a reasoning to why would you pick one at the perfect time. So I'm adding all that in. And here's a little bit of science, the timing of the ball. How high do I have to get the ball up in order to grab 3? How high do I have to get up to grab 1, 4? It's all about, Isaac Newton falls in that category too, right? So it's just a great thing to have unity amongst a game that most people, especially the ones that was in the 70s and 80s, the older people that come up to me, it reminds me of Jack. They just get up there and do it. Oh, but this is different. This makes me, and this is what I hear. I got to think more. That's how I'm doing my job.
And I think it's great how you've integrated. And I want to stop for a second. I actually want to bring up the fact that you said the next great thing is just asking, how can you make it better? And I think that's so important. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to go crazy left or crazy right for what's already being done now. But what can you do to make it better, to take it to that next level? And I want to go into how and why it's important for you to bring in that STEM aspect into the game, and what made you decide to go down that road with the game that impacts so many different people, but keep it in a point that allows anyone to pick it up and play.
I'm glad you asked that question. I actually was put on the spot at one of my pop-ups at ShopRite about 2 weeks ago. Lady put me on the spot. She's like, if you had your 10-second elevator pitch to one of the sharks, tell us what it's all about and tell how I'm gonna. So the first thing I initiate the problem. The biggest challenge today is that most kids are so attached to tablets and phones that they lost that they didn't even lose it. They did not develop that coordination of hand and eye coordination. So the challenge behind it, the problem is we want to not only uh, balance out screen time, but how can we make them more effective? The average student now, the attention span is less than 5 seconds when it comes down to switching over to different things. And the crazy part behind it, the goldfish is 3 seconds. So if it's five, we got some challenges to do. With this idea concept, this great game, what it's going to do is help bring forth the focus, the alertness, the hand-eye coordination, and develop the critical thinking skills so that they be able to use muscles that they haven't used before outside the swiping or the thumbing, right? So the reason why this has been created is to help not change the game, but make them more effective as a citizen of society in ways where they can utilize their inner gifts and talents. That's why I came up with the game Cubix. So that was like the whole thing. With and so that's what I'm talking about. List the problem first, right? Because we all can say that we enjoy it. But like I told you before, in school they want to find out and they want to know why would this be good in school? You're learning your colors, shapes, you're learning a whole lot of different things all in one bunch, but I'm tricking them by having fun. My last school that I actually did a speaking engagement at was elementary, Mars Elementary. And them kids, I mean, excited. Little table with some Cubix. And all I asked them to do is just, if y'all could just bounce the ball one time and catch one cube, I'll get a game. So that was the hook. I'll give you a game. And sure enough, a lot of them couldn't do it. Just one. I didn't say to go through the whole game. Just one cube. So that's I knew that there was a need. Now the teachers got out there and they started to get that muscle memory together. But I noticed that's something that they lack. That's why I said there's the teaching part. I just wanted one cube. And we had a ball. I think I cleared out all my cubes at that day at the wow. Because at the wow, you saw the kids learning, okay, the timing. Okay, learning, all right, it's a strategy. Wait a second, all I got to do is one? Oh, I got this. And that one person get up there, bam, they get it on the spot. Then I had this one kid, I got on video, I'm like, put it up again. I just showed him one time, and he just went in. And I mean, first time I'm playing it, it just went in. And the funny part, he was different from the rest of them. The rest of them was so scared to not be embarrassed by their peers, but he was so focused. I'll never forget it. So focused that I'm going to be determined to do this thing. And then also, I'm going to go past the one. I told him to keep going. Because at first, I'm like, hey, you got it, keep going. He kept going, and then I think he got up to like probably 9. And then I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. But that right there, we need to bring that back. We got to get kids from not being fearful of themselves. Most of them came and tap into who they are because they're so worried about what people may think of him or think of her. I'm excited to be abnormal. I don't want to be normal. Normal is wearing the same thing. Normal is just the status quo. I like to be. I'm at one that sees. I don't see things for a regular thing. I see things where I can make it happen. How can I do it? It's so funny that people are like, Steve got this theory going on. He's working on something. This wheel is spinning. See, people you get around with, they start to know how you are. They start to know how you act. Oh, that's how he thinks. I'm a little bit different. I call myself abnormal in a good way.
And I think that's really important to be abnormal. It is okay. Let's make it the society norm to be abnormal and think outside the box because there's no problem with that. And like you said, where we are building a society where you even see it in the younger generations and the younger students, in this case, of being scared of what other people are going to think of them and them failing themselves. They can't deal with the idea that they might fail. So now why even try? Because failure is the possibility. Why even put the effort in? I don't want to do it. It scares me. I don't want to have that embarrassment of myself or others to make me feel embarrassed. So there's no purpose in even taking that step. Whereas, like you said, that one student was like, nope, I'm determined. Let's be the abnormal person in the group. Let's take the challenge, run with it, and excel in it. And I think that's really the great aspect of that story is the demonstration of how we're allowing our fears to really hurt our capabilities. and our mindset. And just those small changes can really excel you in a direction, launch you in a direction. And Cubix is really the example of that. And it really, you can really show anyone in a way, like you said, through colors, through memory, through hand eye coordination, that you're building all those aspects and those tools and things you need in life in one fun way.
Name right now off the top of your head any toy or any, I guess, activity that can do that right.
There really isn't, and I love the aspect of being able to learn and have
Mhm.
fun. So one thing I've really, been talking to people about myself is Cubix. I'm like, I gotta get my hand on Cubix, and you recently put on social media a limited edition you're doing, and I was like, I'm obsessed with this. I need both versions. I just want to have Cubix the limited edition and then have it. But also it's the aspect of, when you look at different games that are out there right now, what can it provide me? Is it the fun mentality that you can have quality time with your friends and family? Is it the ability to have it, like you were saying, the cross functional of age, where it's an endless age gap that can be playing it and be utilizing it? What knowledge are you getting out of it? Is it just kind of a time killer where it's a fun thing, or are there things you're getting out of it that while playing it you don't even realize? And I think that's what makes Cubix so great. So something that's, like I've been saying this whole day, going to take the world by storm, because it can be integrated in classrooms. It can be used and played by yourself. It can be used and played on the street. It can be played in parks. You can be outside playing with your friends. There's so many different ways you can be doing it and doing the game. And you can be doing it, as I say, at a party. You can just break it out and just start challenging people. And anyone of any age could be doing it.
Yeah, I tell you, it's amazing. February 11th, that's when it was born. The first prototype was February 25th. Had the nightmare that somebody took the whole idea, right? That's why I had to go get a trademark, because I'm like, no, I'm gonna run with it. Had a small circle of people, but I'm glad I had these speaking engagements. See, I tell you, everything works together for good. I had speaking engagements already lined up. I said, let me bring the Cubix for a focus group. Let me see how it will play out in a classroom environment. Let me see how the kids will gravitate to it. Because I'm competing against the tablet, so they're like, oh. But I noticed that me having a focus group, and now they have the downtown on Drexel campus. They have play testing. There's a company called Break My Game, right? And I tell you, when you seek for what you want, whatever you seek is going to seek you. So I was like, man, I'm trying to find a place that I never heard of, a functional place that will just break down your game, tell you the ins and outs, the beauty behind it, and board and brew. I think I mentioned it to you before, but yeah, it's amazing how you can go to this place. You can play board games, you can have coffee and snacks, stuff like that. But now they have a playtesting center, and I was bringing the Cubix there, and they fall in love with it. From naked eye, they're like, wait, what's that? What's good? But then it's like gravitating, and then the feedback is amazing. That's why I said I'm on to something, on to something. But the biggest scary thing was a tournament. But it was like I tell you, if it's not scary enough, I don't want to do it.
Mhm.
Don't want to do it. Got to be scary enough. Let me go forth and get activated.
Steven, how can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you?
I'm on every platform: TikTok, LinkedIn. TikTok is Steve the Legacy. Instagram is Steve the Legacy. Um, LinkedIn has to be my government, so Steve Stott. And I'm on Facebook too as well. And you can reach me at www.stevethelegacy.com.
Well, thank you, Steve the Legacy, for all of your insight today. I love this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
A few of our key takeaways from today's conversation are: when you have a dramatic experience, it can bring you full circle back to what you're really passionate about and really what you want to be doing. I think that's so important to understand that sometimes when something happens in the moment, it can feel so bad, but it can make you reevaluate things. And when you have those moments of reevaluation, it can be so pivotal to actually grab it by the horn and say, okay, this is what I really want to be doing, and take those steps to actually do it, as well as plan like an adult but believe like a child. I think that is so impactful to understand that it's important to plan. It's important to have the processes in place, important to understand all the moving pieces, but it's just as important to continue to believe in yourself and believe in others. And like Steve had said earlier in the show, when you're young, it's never a question of, I can't do it. It's why can't I do it? And believing in yourself that you can do it. So, really always believe like a child, as well as break things down to manageable pieces. When you look at something for what it is, like Steve had said, and we'll use the example of a patent, that big number, those money numbers that pop up on the screen can be daunting. And you could say, you know what, I can't do it. But when you break them down into manageable, scalable pieces, all those I can'ts go out the window to being, okay, yes, let's put this on and we can do it. And I can take that step, and making it those small steps can really make the difference. And my last and one of my favorites, the plan like an adult, believe like a child, is probably my favorite one, is the fact that when you take a challenge and you put a date to it, when you put the solidifying of the cement that this is going to happen on this date, everything else can come, because then you put yourself in a position where you can't move it. It's written down. You've written it down. You've started putting it out there. So now you have to step up to the plate and you have to do it. There can't be any excuses. This was a great episode with our top-notch guest, Steve the Legacy Stotts. Thank you for listening and have a successful day.